quantify the general revenue of the company, how much they like earn and stuff like this, right? Or how
I could
large their
do
profits are.
I can do that, but I'm going to have to actually open up my work laptop to do that for you. So let me see if I can get that powered up real quick.
I'll note it
I
down.
didn't.
I will note it
Go ahead.
down and I will send it to you as a question, okay? So that you don't have to like rush into things
Well,
right now.
I'm I'm turning it on right now. I'm in my office at home. I have a home office, so
Okay.
I'm turning it on right now. It'll just take a couple of minutes, but
No
but
issue.
I'm
No issue. Please take your
yeah. I
time.
don't have the number off the top of my head, but I'll have it for you here in a few minutes. Okay.
Okay. Okay, while
Do
you're
you want to go
turning
over
it
any other
on, I
questions
will
while we're?
con yeah, yeah, okay. So let's talk about the project that you're working on right now. Can you like tell me the projects that you're working on right now?
Well, right now at this particular moment, I'm not really working on any projects per se. I have regular responsibilities that are ongoing every month and every day. So I've listed my
Okay,
primary responsibilities in the document that I sent you, but I can tell you right now, just based on the time of the month, generally on the
okay,
first few days of the month, I'm responsible for several month-end activities, and I'm also right now helping us get ready for a board meeting that's occurring on November 14th. So the month-end activities are comprised of basically going through the database that I'm responsible within our warehouse. We have a SQL server warehouse, and I have a database called SB Marketing, and I'm responsible for updating that marketing database because I actually rely on that database every day in my ad hoc queries in my projects. So I update the tables in there that correspond to our dealer customers. So we have 2,000 plus dealerships that we work with across the U.S. We have 21 different states we do business in, and we deal primarily with dealerships or franchise dealerships that are they have a lot of subprime business. So they're working with customers that have credit scores generally at 620 or below. So
okay,
every month I'm responsible for looking at how our dealers performed in the previous month, how many new loans did they generate, how many of them produced in the previous month, relative to other months. Okay, I take that information and I'm able to put them into segments, and I developed a segment methodology for our company about a year or so ago. And so I take those segments and I update a table that's in our SB marketing database, and I use that in a lot of our day-to-day analytics. So I go through at the end of the month and I look at how they performed, I look at how our salespeople did, and I update some tables that are in the marketing database. So that's one of my primary month-end activities. I'm also
okay,
our company's sales. I'm also our company's primary Salesforce administrator. So at the end of the month, or rather on the first couple of days of the new month, I go through and I have to make sure that I also update Salesforce with these new segments and some of the some of the sales rep activity, because our sales reps are actually in Salesforce every day and they rely on Salesforce for their reporting and dashboards. So I go into Salesforce and make sure that that information that I've updated in SB marketing is also reflected in the Salesforce reporting and dashboard. So I make sure all the reports have the right date, that they've been updated to the most current date, so that when our sales reps go through and they're looking at their day-to-day activities, they can see the most updated reporting. So I do that. So a lot of that's just very manual. It's just me kind of going through updating dates, making sure that the tables are updated in the warehouse, and then really I start moving on to my other responsibilities. So a typical day
okay,
for me, Omna, may involve my boss just coming to me and saying, "Hey, I see last month that we did really, really well. I'd like to figure out what caused that lift, why we did so much better last month." And this is actually a true story. This is one of the things I am looking at right now. We believe that the activity or the lift that we've seen is a direct result of us adding 2 new sales reps, as well as increasing the amount of activity that we have in the field. So the sales reps that we have been approved to be able to start visiting our dealers on a more regular basis, the ones that are outside of their residence territory. So I have a sales rep that, for example, lives in South Texas and Houston. Well, she's been approved now to go to Colorado. She can fly out there, whenever she wants to visit with dealers. Well, we believe the last month we've seen a lot of lift because of these additional, these new things that we're doing. So I put
Okay.
together an analysis. I put together an analysis for him, showing the breakdown of all the different states that we do business in, and I compare that, or I normalize that data based on on segments, so he can see the breakdown of before and after we've done these changes, what that looks like. So he can go to his executive team and say, this is what we've seen, and this is what we believe has caused the lift. At the same time I'm working on an ad hoc project like that, like I said, I'm also responsible for helping us get ready for our board meeting on November 14th. The executives that we have, because we're a very small organization, they see me as the go-to person for everything related to reporting, as in terms of the types of external reporting that we do. They want somebody who's got polished experience in PowerPoint and Microsoft Word, and that has great writing skills and communication skills, and I'm that person in our company. So I'm responsible every single month, and I've been doing this for about 4 years. I put together the board report, and I detailed some
Okay.
of the go ahead.
Okay.
I put
So
together some.
I'm going to.
Go
Okay.
ahead.
Continue, please.
I was just
Okay.
going to say I put
So
together
I
some
was.
details in the document I sent to you.
Okay, yes, I did see that. I'm going to stop you here right now because I'm going to ask you some questions about the segments that you update, and then the report that you create about the dealers. And I was going to ask you generally. So, do you know the size of the database that you are managing?
The database is very small. Like I said, um, you know, on any given month, we have approximately 2,000 or so active dealers. These are dealers that are eligible to do business with us because they've signed a dealer agreement that says that they're not that they're going to do things right, that they're going to um, you know uh, send us business in good faith. So they have to sign a contract, and right. So at any given time, we have around 2,000 dealers that are eligible to do business with us. Now, as a
Okay.
company, we also, anytime we take on a new loan, we also have a borrower, right? That's responsible for paying on that loan. That borrower becomes a secondary customer of our company. We don't deal directly with the public. We're not allowed, because of licensing reasons, to directly lend money to consumers for auto loans. So we have to work with dealers. Dealers become, an indirect resource for those loans for the borrower. So once a loan comes on our books, on that customer, or that borrower rather, excuse me, becomes a part of our database, right? So we have over
Okay.
20,000 plus, borrowers right now on our books. Okay, and I'm getting ready to bring up the
Okay.
full portfolio so I can tell you how big the company was. I can look and see, um, how big the company was, or how big the portfolio is right now if you want. But I'm more on the origination side of the business, so it's really important you understand. So when a loan comes in, there's a lot of different attributes associated with that loan. Okay, pricing, APR rate, discount, what we charge the dealer to do the business because it's a high risk loan, LTV, auto amount finance. There's a long litany list of attributes. Once that loan is on our books, that actually gets handled by the servicing side of our business. So when I first started at Scopus, I did a lot of our servicing reporting because I was the only analyst at the company when we first started. Okay,
Okay.
I was the only analyst. So I helped, and you'll see that on my resume as business information analyst. So that was my title. Um, so I basically built out, or helped to build out, the original data warehouse. I mean, we didn't really call it a warehouse at the time because it was really more of a data mart. I call it more of a data mart just because it was more sort of just thrown together haphazardly. We didn't
Okay.
have a lot of structure around it. We didn't have like an ETL process. A lot of that's been very,
Okay.
very, improved now. But, um, so I don't know. I'm kind of going off in different directions here, but so you were starting to say you wanted to know about the segmentation, and you wanted to know a little bit more about that process. So I guess
Yeah.
maybe tell me what it is exactly that you're wanting me to answer at this point in that regard.
So I just wanted to know, did you were you the pioneer of this process, or was it running in the organization already and you improved it somehow? I mean, what was your maybe how did you improve this process, basically, the reporting process and the segmentation and the loan handling as well?
There was no dealer segmentation when I joined the company. They
Okay.
were very, very small. The company started around 2012. All right. So when I came on in 2013, like I said, it was just myself and my manager at the time, who was, I guess his title was Director of Knowledge Management. He was responsible, the only person there that was really able to do, he was responsible for building out the tables and the views in the SQL Server, database or whatever. He didn't have a structured warehouse in place at the time. He was working with IT to make sure that we had a direct API or a direct link to our loan originator, who is called DeFi Solutions. So I mean, we had all these different partners, right? And so we hooked into them via this API or web services or what have you. But excuse me, but he didn't have like a formalized system in place. We didn't have a warehouse, right, at the time. So he and I just relied on building tables and views as we needed them for reports. So he basically tasked me when I first started with learning as much as I could about these partners, understanding the data, making sure that I was familiar with the tables and the views. And then he unleashed me on SSRS and Visual Studio. He said, okay,
Okay.
we need to start building reports. We need to start building reports for the different departments. Yes, we're small, and we had about 3 or 4 reports at the time, but they were very, very archaic. There was no discipline around data visualization. There was just, these reports looked awful. And so he said,
Okay.
we need to build out new reports, and we need to make them look nice, and we need to come up with data visualization standards, using the same colors and branding and all this. So he had me do that. He actually taught me SSRS and Visual Studio. And, basically I started building reports. That was my primary thing for a long time, was just
Okay.
building out reports. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So, how did you identify the need for this report specifically, the dealers one and the loan one as well?
Um, well, these weren't specifically for the dealers. These were reports that we use internally to have visibility to what's happening in the business. Okay, so our servicing department, the ones that actually collect on the loans, they needed reporting. They needed to be able to see, what they were collecting on. They needed to see, what was still owed on loans, how many loans were rolling over into the next month or the next quarter that needed to be collected on. They needed to see what was happening, so they understood how to dedicate resources, and what they were going to get paid on and what they weren't going to get paid on from a risk perspective.
Okay.
And then I was also building
How
out the
were how were
originations reports. Go ahead.
okay. So, so I just want you to know how were they handling it before you came in? Like after you automated, I'm sure they were able to handle it well,
They
but how
were
were they doing it before?
they were primarily relying on self-serve, coming up with doing things in Excel on their own, or sometimes they would rely on, we had a Cognos database at the time that was not very user friendly, and a lot of them just didn't know how to really use it very well, and so they would just go in and try to sort of piece together things on their own using Cognos and Excel.
Okay, so when you introduced these reports, how much time did you save? I mean, I'm sure before they were handling it individually and creating reports by themselves. So how were you able to save? How much time were you able to save after you implemented these reports?
Well, I don't know how much time they were spending on it, but I can tell you that once we automated these reports using SSRS, which is SQL Server Reporting Services. I mean,
Yeah.
that kicks off and triggers the report automatically, so they didn't have to go in and do any work on their side. The reports
Okay.
would be automatically generated, and then they would receive an email with a link to the report. That was it.
Okay.
There was nothing that had
Okay.
to be done on their end in terms of producing Excel or Cognos type reporting.
Okay, that's fine. You see, we can easily quantify this one as well, that the time is now negligible as compared to before they were doing it. So there you go.
Hmm.
This is one of your quantified measures right now. So, okay. So when you talk about these reports, did you first it means that you just automated these reports from scratch, right? And
Yes.
you basically utilized this new technique of automating these reports. So basically before they were not using SIS for updating the reports. You used it or you introduced it throughout the company. So did you
Yes.
introduce any other mechanism for reporting or any other tool for reporting similar reports like this or maybe some other reports?
Let's just say I've tried. I've tried to get the organization to move over to Tableau. I've been trying for a very, very long time. They don't have the money to. That's one of the reasons I'm looking for another job on that is the company does not have money. The company is very, very
Okay.
capital constrained. We have not
Okay.
been profitable in any month that we've been in